once you have logged into your page, it will have your company's name and the key person in your company. Hopefully that's you who has just logged into this page. There's a little dashboard here that says under the commodity that you registered for, there are 17 formal available solicitations, 4 informal. You would have 11 orders and 20 contracts against your company. The easiest way to get into your solicitation is to go here and go to view current solicitations. Oops, excuse me, it wants me to relog in again. And that happens from time to time. You get booked out, just go right back to where you were again. So there's a couple of ways you can look for a solicitation. You can look by the title, the opportunity number. This will automatically default to what's called My List. My List is based on the commodities that you registered for, will populate the solicitations that are available to bid on. There's also other active opportunities, which are all other bids that are available in the state. And certainly you're welcome to look at those and see if there's any opportunities that you might want to bid on. And perhaps it was not a commodity you chose when you registered in the system. So it's a good thing to monitor on a regular basis. So once you know which bid that you're interested in this case, we're going to start with an RFQ or request for quote. You can put in the bid number or even the last 4 digits of that number and hit submit. And again, if it didn't come up under My List, it would come under other active opportunities. What will be presented here is the actual bid number, the agency that it's related to, the title, the start and end date of the bid, and how long you have to bid on that and what the status is. These little action buttons here are the actions that you can take within the system. If you want to just review the bid, you could go over here, what is called a hyperlink, and click on the hyperlink and review the bid. It will tell you all the pertinent information, the documents that have been attached, and in this case, because it's an RFQ, it will also give you the line items to bid on. You could download these items here, and before you even do your bid, you could decide maybe you wanted to ask questions on this particular solicitation. So if you wanted to ask questions before you submit a bid, you could come over to the action buttons and go to where it says the Q&A Center. And you could just, all you have to do is post your question here. As long as this area is in white and it's active, you can post a question. Once it becomes grayed out, it means either there was no bidding, no opportunity for questions, or the formal question period has ended. So you just type in your questions. And then you just hit post. What will happen from here is the buyer will gather all the questions and post the answers to the questions in an addendum to the bid once the Q&A period has closed. As you can see here, the Q&A is from June 23rd to July 29th. Once that date has ended, the buyer will post that. You'll also get a notification that a question has been asked, as you can see from my little note on the bottom here. You can close this once you've asked all the questions you're interested in, come back to the bid, and if you're ready to enter a new response, you would just go to add new response. It comes up as quote 1. You can rename that or just leave it as quote 1. There may be cases where, let's say you're a distributor and you offer more than one manufacturer of a particular type of item that the state is looking for, you could put in multiple quotes, but that should be specified in the bid whether that's allowed to enter more than one quote or not. Once you do that, you will come to what is called the overview page. And the most important thing to keep in mind, and where the biggest issue comes for vendors, is you must answer everything on the first 3 tabs, the overview, the requirements, and the questionnaire, before the attached documents or the response tab will open up. As you can see right now, all it says is review responses, but that doesn't allow you to do anything to the bid. You must answer these first 3 tabs. So in the overview, it's very similar to what we saw in the hyperlink when we looked at the overview page. However, there's actions required for you to act on in order to say that you facilitated whatever you need for that particular bid. So in this case, you need to acknowledge the scope of work and any additional documents that are there. You'll see that it's a little white box with a red X next to it. Once you have acknowledged and accepted these, you can also come over to the action buttons and you can download the documents, or you can just review the documents. You would have to say accept, and those boxes would then turn to green that you've accepted those, which means you've completed that function. The other things you want to look for on the header page is there a pre-bid? In this case, there is a mandatory pre-bid. It gives you the time, the date, and the location. It's on all bids. It also goes over the questions and what you need to do to complete your vendor registration if you have not done so already. It will also, again, give you an overview of the line items. Once you have completed all this, you can save. I always suggest to save responses as a double way of making sure you've taken care of everything. It will bring you back to the top of the page. I know that you can go on to the next step either at the bottom or at the top. I highly recommend you follow the tabs at the top of the page. The next tab is the requirements. Here will be what you're probably used to seeing as terms and conditions or bid clauses. In this case, an award has been selected, a purchase agreement, non-compliance specifications, and all the insurance requirements will be told to you up front in the bid now, so you can prepare, if you win the award, what needs to be supplied. Once you've read all the requirements and whatever is required of that specific bid, you would acknowledge you have read that by choosing yes. And again, hit save. Always save your work. After you completed the overview section, your work will go into draft status if you save it. If you do not save it, you'll lose what you put into that point. After that, you just want to save each tab to make sure that you don't lose any of the work you've inputted. Once you finish that, you want to go to the questionnaire section. The questionnaire section is the replacement for the RIVIP bidder certification form. It's now just called the vendor certification form. It was always attached in RIFANS to your bids in the past. Now it's embedded into the system. I can't emphasize enough that you need to make sure you fill in every radial button and acknowledge every single box, even if you're also going to attach a document. So in this case, we're going to answer the questions, and we have no disclosures, so we're just going to say NA. If you did have disclosures, you would have to say yes and then upload a file. If you just upload a file but put nothing in this box, it will not allow you to move forward in the solicitation. So continue to do so all the ways down. If for some reason I miss a box, and we're going to purposely miss a box near the end here. Let's see, I just missed one there. And then you need to acknowledge and you need to date it and signature. So we'll just say the vendor and the date. 6. I have no idea what today's date is, but. And if I go to hit save, you can see right here that it said certification number 8 was not filled in. So you have to come back up. You have to find the spot that you missed. Right here, it's certification 8, and fill in that box. Once you hit save, it says success on the side. And then this little sticky note over here denotes that you have line items that you still have to fill in. So as you can see, now I've filled in the first 3 sections. Now the respond and the attachment section have appeared. So I want to respond to my line items. So when you go to fill in a line item, the first line item will come to the top. It will have the item title and the item description. And there could be in the description more specifications such as must be delivered, has to be in a 4-inch pot, etc. Whatever the specifications of that particular item are. You'll scroll down and then it will tell you what the quantity is, the denomination, and whether it's an each or a package or it's hourly rates or whatever it happens to be will be determined in the unit. If you have a specific part number, you can fill that in, but that's not necessarily required. So we want to bid on this item. So let's say it's $25. And then you hit save. Once you hit save, it will show you here on that sticky note that you filled in one of 2 items. You need to always come to the bottom of the page and you can see the one you filled in is highlighted. The ones still to be done are still in white. So you come to number 2. And you can see that the second item, the candy cane sorrel, you can look at the description, again, what the dollar value is, what the unit price is, and what the quantity that's required. Put in your bid, hit save. And then at this point, you can either review or submit, or let's say you wanted to attach pictures or some other type of document. You could add an attachment. You would just go browse and it will take you to your files in your desktop. You could add whatever attachment that you wanted to add. Let's say it was just a picture. You could upload that. You could determine if you wanted it to be confidential or not. And then once you've completed that, you want to go to review and submit, which is the same as review response. You review whatever the bid was that you've met those specifications. You look at everything you filled in. There's your bid total. You want to make sure that that matches. Yes, there's a lot of zeros in here, but just imagine it only had 2 zeros at the end. And if everything looks good, you come up to the top of the page and you hit submit. And it's as easy as that. As I said, just make sure you always fill in your overview, review, and questionnaire. So now, if there's no questions, I'm going to show you how to do a RFP, which is a little different because it's in traditional RFP world, you would submit sealed envelopes. And in this case, the system facilitates the sealed envelopes for you. So again, we're going to come back to view current solicitations. We're going to put in our RFP number. And this one I have purposely added an addendum so you can see what that would look like if you went to do an addendum. I've already started a response. If the buyer requires you to acknowledge an addendum, your bid will go back into draft status. So really keep that in mind and make sure you're aware of the notifications and follow your bid right up to the bid closing date. Because anytime you're asked to acknowledge an amendment, your bid could go, even though you think you've submitted your bid, it still is not submitted until you've completed acknowledging the amendment. So in this case, we're going to pretend this is a brand new response. We're going to go to add new response. And it will still have us acknowledge the amendment. We have to do all the same things. We have to make sure we complete the overview, the requirements, and the questionnaire. The only difference is when there is an addendum, there's not a little checkbox. You have to come over here and view and accept the amendment details. When you scroll down on this page, it will show you whatever addendum changes have occurred. In this case, there was a document added. You're going to accept the addendum at the bottom of the page. And it will ask for your confirmation. You say yes. And then it will bring you back to the overview page. Once you've accepted your addendum, and you can also compare versions of your addendum if you wanted to. So it would show you what was on the original addendum versus what's in the new version. And so in this case, it will show you in yellow highlight what's changed. And in this case, it was an addendum. If it was a date change or whatever, it would be yellow highlighted in here of whatever has been changed. So you can close this page. You come down here. You've already accepted the addendums. Now you accepted the original solicitation documents, and now you want to also accept the addendum. And you want to make sure that every one of those boxes has been checked off. And you can see once everything's green, you're good to go. So now we're going to go to requirements, very similar to what we showed in the RFQ. This is very similar to the submissions that you would have received in paper version that explain all the instructions in detail, including that this is the general conditions of purchase are by submitting your solicitation would govern all solicitations and any further awards that are made. Read all of these very carefully. Normally the insurance would be checked off here as requirements. The specifications, how to submit your technical proposal, how to submit your cost proposal. Make sure that if an ISB is requested, it always only goes in the cost section. Once you've acknowledged and read all of these, including whatever MBE terms and conditions apply, you would come down here just like you did in the previous bid and check yes and hit save. And then once again, we have to do the vendor certification form. We're going to come in here. We're going to acknowledge these. And let's say that we did have ownership. Let's say this was a publicly held company. We might need to say yes and select a file to attach. That's your vendor file. I'm just going to add a document here and make believe that's my vendor file. You can see the template gets populated here. Again, make sure that this box is always filled in, and then fill in the rest of these boxes. Hopefully I won't miss any. And please read all of these with comprehension. I'm just showing you very quickly. But these are all pertinent to the state that you agree to all of these terms. And then you would sign and date again. We'll make believe that's my signature and save. Okay, so now we've filled in all the top 3 sections and the attached documents section comes up. So this is where this becomes the 2 envelope system for an RFP. If you were doing an open enrollment technical, you would only just have the technical evaluation section, but this literally puts this into 2 bucket envelopes, and the price evaluation cannot be opened until the evaluation team completes its technical evaluation. So you would add your complete evaluation here. If you put cost in this section, you could be disqualified. So please be very careful that you separate your technical from your price, and also upload your ISBE information under price as a separate document. Think of each of those as 3 unique envelopes. So you would add your attachment here. Come to wherever your documents happen to be. Open, upload, and then you come over to your cost. Come over here, and before I upload it, if there was something, it designates that this is the price evaluation and that it could be confidential. Confidential is not general information that you would put in every bid. It's only when you have something that usually is proprietary information that is not to be shared with the rest of the world. So please be really careful about how you use the confidential part of your bid, because most of the time this is your normal RFP process, and this is the same as you've always submitted. Just think of it as that same process. So you can do multiple types of, you can do a Word document, you can upload Adobe, you can upload an Excel file. Once all this is completed, you just go to review and submit. You review all your documents that you've put everything here that you wanted to add. The original documents are also here. If this all looks good, you can download this if you want to save for your files. And if everything looks good to go, you can hit submit. If for some reason you're not happy with what you submitted, you can go to retract. If you want to ask another question and you want to do it before you finish submitting your bid, you can go to what's called Collaborate, which is the same as the Q&A Center. If this does look good, you can hit close. You can come back to your bid at a later time. If you want to make any edits, you can go to submit, edit your response. Don't go to the section up here where it says actions, but always go next to the response that you made. And as you see, you can come back to these bids at a different time and you can see if something's ended or awarded. So you can look up any of these bids. You could also go to view past solicitations, and you can also look up the status of bids here, and it will show you either what's awarded or what has ended. Under review, ended, etc. Are there any questions up to this point? Okay, so the one other thing that we wanted to just show you is, well, first of all, besides the guides that we put together, Proactus, the company that sponsors this website, also has an online help. So you can go here where it says online help, and it will take you to their website and you can navigate for whatever question you might have or that you're looking for. You can close that. Or if you need to get in touch with Proactus, if you're having trouble with the system, here is their phone number and their web support number. If you need to make changes to your account, you would come over here to where it says My Account. If you want to add a user, you would go to where it says Edit Users and add a new user here. If you want to make sure that you're getting notifications, you would go to Edit Main Org Information. You'd scroll down here and you see where it says Bid Notifications. You could check off which notifications you wanted to add. If you need to change anything else like categories or whatever, if you wanted to add more categories, all of that could be done within this page. Just keep in mind that we use the UNSPSC categories, and that's where you would add any of your categories in here. You could search for any subject and then you could add it to your bid. I've pretty much added everything to mine, so that's why you're not seeing much of anything. So are there any other questions?